Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Snack Size DFS on trade deadline Thursday morning. I'm Dan Bespris. Once again, just here to introduce my good friend Brenton Eckersley, Terrain72 on social media, as he guides you through the Thursday DFS slate, which is going to be a hairy one with all the stuff likely to go down in the morning. Take a moment to hit that like button. Very important as we want to spread the word that we've got DFS here at Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. And of course, subscribe to the feed so you get all future episodes, and hang out with our buddies over at Bet Online. It's Super Bowl Sunday. The biggest betting weekend of the year is finally here, which means more updated odds and props for Super Sunday. Bet Online is your world's most trusted betting platform, and now they've got hundreds of prop bets on the Super Bowl. You've got MVP odds. You've got in-game betting opportunities there. That'll be happening during the actual Super Bowl, making Bet Online your ultimate game day companion. Visit the website today. Make that game day action count just a little bit more with Bet Online. The game starts here. Brenton, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Daniel, as always. Welcome to Snack Size DFS, guys. My name is Brenton Eckersley, your host. This is your condensed bite-sized version of the DraftKings slate for DFS on February the 6th, which is a Thursday. We have 6 games on to look at here. Not a lot of news of huge note, which is pretty cool in the middle of trade deadline week. It makes my job a little bit easier. It does make value a little tougher to find, I guess. So let's jump in. There is a decent amount of news to work with already. Your game notes for Thursday, February 6th. As I said, 6 games on. Your fast game here is going to be the Sacramento at Portland game. That one has a 2:30 game total already, and a couple of slower ones to look out for. Golden State Warriors taking on the Lakers. No game total, but both of these teams are fairly slow this year. We expect that to probably not change here. Luka's not in for the Lakers yet, so that is something to keep an eye on down the track. And also the Houston-Minnesota game. 2 slow teams, 216 game total predicted by Vegas. And your pace bumps, a couple here, not of huge interest. Boston versus Dallas. We're going to have to see how Dallas shake out once AD starts playing, but he is not in this lineup yet. So Boston with a small pace bump, and also the Clippers playing Indiana. Clippers one of the slowest teams at the moment, and Indiana quite fast. So a pace bump there for the Clippers. Let's jump in, attack and stack. Honestly, not much to report here. Boston are taking on Dallas. As mentioned in the pace bump section, Dallas are giving up fantasy points at the moment, so Boston a fairly nice target. Hopefully Dallas can keep it close. And Portland versus Sacramento. How interesting is that? The game stack earlier in the season has been against Portland, and now they are a tough defensive team in the last month or so. So the actually flips back the other way. Portland taking on Sacramento. Sacramento are the ones giving up the fantasy points. Game 1, let's jump in. The Mavericks taking on the Celtics. As mentioned, this is going to be a fairly slow game. Davis is questionable at the moment. We know that he missed practice though, so whether he plays or not is going to dictate a lot of stuff here for the Mavs. We know that PJ Washington's already ruled out, and that Daniel Gafford, surprisingly to me, because I do have him in one of my season-long fantasy teams, he's in. When you hear shoulder on the injury report, it's never great, but apparently he's going to suit up and play. So let's look at AD first. He's questionable 10-5. That's a pretty high price. It's a tough defense versus Boston. He's on a new team. I'm just going to wait here and just see how this shakes out, whether they play him more at the 5 or more at the 4. We love it more if he plays at the 5, but I honestly don't think that's going to happen. He would get more rebounding there, more potential block shots. I'm just going to wait and see on Anthony Davis for now. The one guy I have major interest for here on the Mavs side of things is Daniel Gafford. 7,100, he's just still too cheap. He did have a bit of a down game last game out, but he's just too cheap, especially if Davis can't go here. He's one of my fave plays for the Mavericks. And then we have some pinata plays that you can throw darts at here. We know if Davis is out, that also PJ is out, there's going to be a whole lot of usage to go around elsewhere. Kyrie is appropriately priced here versus Boston for me, so I've left him out. But you can look at Klay Thompson at 5,100. You could look at Max Christie at 5,200, who had 5,000 on the dot. He had 32 minutes immediately in his first game for the Mavs. And Najee Marshall at 4,700 would be another pinata dart throw. 26 minutes. No PJ here, no Davis. Usage is going to go elsewhere, so there are some mid-price guys you could take a stab at. On the Boston side of things, a little bit of a pace-up game for these guys. Holiday is questionable at the moment. If Drew can't go down the bottom there, Derek White or Peyton Pritchard would be your pinata plays. I probably like White more just as he has more of a solid floor. He generally scores around 30 DK points anyway. And if Holiday can't go, then there's more minutes, more usage, etc. for White at 6,300. Peyton Pritchard, more of your pinata play dart throw. 4,800 is a stabby kind of play if Drew sits. My main guy here for Boston, as he has been the last few games, Kristaps Porzingis 7,500. That's a price jump finally. There's a few guys on this card who DraftKings have finally bumped the pricing up for a little more, but I still like this price for Porzingis versus Dallas. 63, 45, 42, and 38 DK points in his last four. Houston and Minnesota, I've left my slow icon out there. Apologies, this is definitely a slow game. I think it said 216 game total. Tari Eason is now listed as in, and Steven Adams is doubtful. I love Alperen Sengun here at 8,800. He had 57 and 66 versus Minnesota earlier in the year in his only two games where he's played them, so that's a good price for Alpy. Cam Whitmore is your pinata play here for Houston at 4,100. Mid 20 minutes in the last few games and double-digit field goal attempts is the main thing. So he would be a nice little dart throw there at 4,100 if you need to land at that price. And honestly, if you want to play one of the higher price guys, we've got LeBron coming up, we've got Jokic coming up. You're going to have to find value somewhere. So Cam Whitmore, not a bad option. And also with Fred VanVleet out, Reed Shepherd didn't start. They started Aaron Holiday, but it was Reed Shepherd who came off the bench and played 28 minutes. So 3,800, that's a real stab in the dark pinata play. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's a back-to-back. They're playing today as I'm recording. They have the Wednesday-Thursday back-to-back. We know that Randall is out for an extended period. I really like Rudy Gobert here, 6,800. Excuse me. That's $1,000 price jump in 2 games, but it's needed. DK, another one where they finally caught up some pricing here, but it's still too cheap for the amount of usage and rebounds that this guy's getting right now. His last 3 DK games, 42, 50, and 47. 6,800 remains too cheap. And Jaden McDaniels, look, I often mention this as a guy I rarely get right, but he is just steamrolling right now. So if he continues to put up the DK points that he has been putting up, 6,500 with no Randall is a very, very easy play. You make the call. I struggle with McDaniels. Maybe you don't, and you can play him. Naz Reid at 6,300 with Randall out. We know that he gets a bump at that power forward position with no Randall. GPP play for me only. Just keep in mind that he had 60% field goal shooting on 19 shots, which is high as well in the last game versus Sacramento. Decent price for Naz Reid. Probably a GPP play away from some other guys for me. And your pinata play here is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Another guy I'd rarely play, to be honest, but 4,600. His minutes have been high until the last game, but nothing really changed there in terms of other guys coming in. So he could find his minutes easily back up again. 35 minutes, 32 minutes, 41 minutes, and then 23 in the last game. Keep an eye on the news for the back-to-back for the Minnesota Timberwolves. More back-to-backs here. Orlando taking on Denver. So Orlando will get an almighty pace bump here, although we have no Westbrook. So Denver will slow down a little bit without Russ there in the starting lineup, pushing the pace up the floor. Back-to-back for Orlando, as mentioned, Wednesday, Thursday, and also the same for Denver. Both teams playing today and going into the Thursday back-to-back. Please watch the news. Suggs is doubtful on the Wednesday. He hasn't played for a number of games, and what we see is Cole Anthony getting the boost there. So he can be a little bit of a hit and miss play, but 6K for Cole Anthony if Suggs doesn't play on the Thursday. He's had a couple of 40 DK point plus games in his last 2. Paolo Banchero is very interesting at the moment. Obviously, some pretty low DK scoring, around about the 30 to 35 DK points. But honestly, the shooting has to improve at some point. So he's a GPP play here for me, away from the higher price guys like, as I mentioned, LeBron, Jokic. He's gonna have to hit shots eventually, right? Please, right? His last 3-4 games there, his field goal percentage, read these numbers: 33, 43, 21, 37. That's from the floor. Field goal percentage, just terrible. So he's still putting up 20 field goal attempts a game. It's a pace up game here. Can Paolo get it done for us? Maybe at 8,400. Goga Batadze and Wendell Carter Jr. remain pinata plays. The minutes are basically getting split here. Goga still recovering from injury, so the minutes have been lower. Carter Jr. having his minutes cut into by Goga. I'm not really keen on either of these guys, but again, we need mid-price guys. Take a stab at one of them if you need to. Don't play them both. For Denver, as mentioned, back-to-back, Wednesday, Thursday, we need to watch the news there. Aaron Gordon's being listed as probable now for the Wednesday game. Unlikely he plays the back-to-back, in all honesty, and we know that Peyton Watson is out for some time now. Nikola Jokic, $12,800. Can you pay it? Yeah, sure. I'm not going to talk you out of it. It's the highest price we've seen for Nikola all season. He is quite good at basketball, though. His last 2 games, I think, are 75 and 80 DK points. So I'm not going to talk you out of him. You'd have to find some serious value around him to be able to play him in a pace down game. Keep an eye on these things. Jamal Murray, though, 7,800, no Westbrook. He's had 16 to 25 field goal attempts in his last 3 to 4 games with no Westbrook. Love that price for Jamal Murray, even against Orlando. Christian Brown, I got it right. I usually say Braun and have to correct myself. It's Christian Brown, 5,500. That's a dart throw pinata play. He's had high minutes with no Westbrook. He can land anywhere from 20 to kind of 40 DK points. So have a dart throw if you need to. I am not chasing the Michael Porter game. He went absolutely crazy versus the Pelicans, which a lot of teams do, and I'm not chasing that here versus Orlando. Julian Strawther. Let's go with Strawther, 3,900, and Zeke Naji at 3,600. These are your pinata plays if Gordon sits. Which one will go off? Will either of them go off? Who knows? We need some value, though, if we're playing high price guys. So Strawther or Naji are also lower basement price options for you. Moving into the Kings taking on the Blazers. This is a back-to-back for Sacramento. They're playing today. Obviously, big trade news. Zach LaVine going over to the Kings, and he is in on the Wednesday. No reason he doesn't play the Thursday here as well. For Zach himself at 7,900, look, this is a GPP-only play for me. I'm not excited about it. As I said, Portland have been much harder to score against lately. He's a GPP play for me. I'm kind of waiting to see on a lot of the Kings lineup what actually happens here. There's going to be a bit to shake out. Malik Monk at 7,700. Look, I'm an art over this. LaVine coming in. I expect Malik Monk to have a fair bit of ball handling responsibilities here, but 7,700, he's had that price rise. Finally, DK have done it. So I am just going to pass on Monk here. Can't talk you out of him either. He's been steamrolling. LaVine changes things. Let's see what happens for me. Domantas Sabonis, though, at 9,600. That's a price drop, which we like. 62 versus Portland earlier in the year. And you can absolutely still target Portland for centers. So I don't mind a bit of Sabonis at 9,600. Note that Keon Ellis did have 29 DK points in his last game. There was no LaVine. He was up at 34 minutes. That is going to shrink rapidly. So I'd be not looking at Keon Ellis in this one. For the Portland Trail Blazers, they are not on a back-to-back here, and we have 2 positions that we can attack the Kings at. So I mentioned that this fantasy scoring situation has kind of flipped for these 2 teams lately. Sacramento giving up fantasy points at small forward and power forward. We have Klingon questionable, and we also have a trade with Jonas Valanciunas. That is in the wrong section. The J-Val trade should obviously be up in the Sacramento section. I am curious to see how Valanciunas fits in with the Kings. He'll be an awesome play if Sabonis goes out at any time. He may get more of a run than he was getting at Washington. Apologies for putting that in the wrong section there. Just something to monitor going forward with Valanciunas. Back to Portland, DeAndre Ayton remains too cheap at $7K. He's had a $500 price jump, but the dude is just rolling. If he's in here, he had 43 DK points versus Sacramento earlier in the year. Portland seem a lot better on the court at the moment. Ayton is still a nice price at $7K. Denny Avdia, he's your pinata play at the moment, $6,600. He's had a price drop. The minutes are all over the place. Therefore, the scoring is all over the place. But small forward is another place that you can attack the Kings. Robert Williams at 4,100. He's your pinata play, especially if Klingon sits. We did see that, I believe Robert Williams started the second half. Don't get too fooled into that in the last game because Ayton had some serious foul trouble. So he's a pinata play that you can look at 4,100. Moving into more of a marquee matchup here, it's the Golden State Warriors taking on the Lakers. Golden State on a back-to-back here. Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins were both probable at the time of recording for the Wednesday game. Keep an eye on the news going forward for the Thursday game. Steph Curry here at 8,200 is your high price guy for the Warriors. It's an amazing price for Steph Curry. He hasn't really been getting it done, but there have been some very poor shooting nights as well, and I could see a bounce back here. It's a GPP play away from those buzzy, constantly scoring huge DK points guys, but I don't mind this shot at Steph Curry at 8,200. Kevon Looney at 4K. He's a pinata play. He will be much nicer if Green doesn't go in the back-to-back, but he's still kind of putting up that 25 to 30 DK points every now and then, kind of on and off for Kevon Looney. So another pinata play for you there. On the Lakers, we know that Luka's not playing here. He may be back on the weekend or into the Lakers for the first time on the weekend. That makes LeBron James a pretty safe play here, 10,800. He's going to be a cash play for me. Lots of people are going to flock to this because we know there's no Luka yet. Davis is gone. All of that usage is going to be there with LeBron. However, we saw that in the last game. He only topped 50 DK points just. So I don't mind it. It's going to be a marquee matchup. One of those games where LeBron's going to want to shine. So 10,800, I can't talk you out of it. Rui Hachimura, 5,300. I got the name right first time. No Davis. Usage everywhere for Rui. It's more of a lower upside kind of play. Look at the DK scores. 32, 32, 32. So above value, but only just. He has had double-digit shot attempts in the last 3 games. Finney Smith, 3,800. He is one of your pinata plays here. 32 and 24 minutes. It's bouncing around a bit. He would just be a dart throw for me. Jackson Hayes at 4,500. Still not convinced on this guy. I watched him play for the Pelicans for a number of years. Yes, he's the starting center until or if the Lakers do something in that position trade-wise. I'm not convinced and I'm staying away from Jackson Hayes. Dalton Connect at 3,700. He had 21 minutes and 9 field goal attempts, which is the most important thing in the last game with no Davis. So he is a nice stab in the dark pinata play. Last game of the day, it's Indiana taking on the Clippers. There's no real news for Indiana yet. We saw that Miles Turner came back in for the last game and he is not on the report here. I love this price for Tyrese Halliburton, 8,100. It's a great price. You can see this guy up over 9K at any time during the season. So Halliburton is a nice price. He had a shocker in his last one, 25 minutes only in a blowout and had 3 field goal attempts. Hence all the exclamation points. That is out of control. Nice bounce back here expected for Tyrese Halliburton. Andrew Nembhard remains your lower upside kind of play at 5,600. He does have decent scoring ability, but most of the time he's going to get you just over value. Lower upside, you can attack the Clippers at shooting guard lately, which is a nice spot for Nembhard. Pascal Siakam doesn't appear on my boards very often, but at 7,600, he's had a price drop. He's capable of 50 DK points. The matchup isn't fantastic. It's a slow game for the Indiana, but Pascal Siakam for a mid-price GPP play if you need to. Nothing on the injury report yet either for the Clippers. On the opposite side of things here, they get the big pace bump playing against Indiana. They're playing at home as well. James Harden at 9K. This is a nice price. I like it here with the pace bump. Indiana guards, nothing too terrible to worry about. I don't mind this shot at James Harden at 9K. Kawhi Leonard remains too cheap. He's at a price drop. He only played 22 minutes in the last game. That was a complete blowout. So he didn't even touch the floor in the last quarter. 6,800 for a guy who has 40 to 45 DK points upside is still too cheap. Norm Powell, 6,900, back in the lineup in the last game. Great price for Norm. This is a pace bump, 6,900. You can absolutely look at Norm Powell here. And an interesting pinata play here for Drew Eubanks, who's just come into this Clippers lineup as part of a trade. The Clippers have been looking for a big backup big for a while, or needed one in my opinion, and Eubanks may get some decent minutes here. We know that he can put up good DK points in quick game time. My favourite plays for your 6-game card on February the 6th. Daniel Gafford versus Boston, just too cheap. Jaden McDaniels continues to roll. He could continue that versus Houston. Jamal Murray and Jokic both versus Orlando. Jamal Murray with a very nice price. Jokic is going to be a super high price guy that you'll have to fit in some value around, obviously. DeAndre Ayton remains too cheap versus Sacramento. LeBron in the marquee matchup versus the Golden State Warriors. And I do like Halliburton versus the Clippers. That's a nice quick one for you guys today. This has been Snack Size DFS, part of the Old Man Squad Network. Please, if you're on the socials, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the Old Man Squad Network. Dan does amazing work keeping you up to date with your season-long fantasy, and at the moment you cannot afford to not be a part of this movement going forward, especially in the middle of trade deadline week. There could be big things to come. My name's Brenton Eckersley. You can find me on the socials at Terrain72. Thanks for joining us. As always, watch the news. We do have a good 24 hours or 23 hours before this card actually starts. So I'm here to get you primed, get you pumped, and then we need to keep an eye on things moving forward. Thanks very much for joining me, everybody, today. This has been Brenton Eckersley for Snack Size DFS and the Old Man Squad Network.
Big thank you to Brenton Eckersley for that Snack Size DFS presentation. As always, getting you set up for victory. This show is brought to you by our friends at UnderdogFantasy.com. Head there today using promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click on the link in the show description to unlock up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus cash. Also, a free play, which... Again, I used mine, so I can't see what it is right now when I'm logged into my account, but I think it's like a half a yard for one of the quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. So it's a gimme. All you got to do then is just pick one other guy. Football, basketball, whatever. Take their projections. You go higher, you go lower, whichever one you think it is. Match that up with your free play. You 3x your cash. It's as simple as that. Or you can have some fun on your own. Put together a pick'em card of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different spots. You can go way beyond tripling what you put on it. 5x, 10x, 20, 40, 80. Go crazy or don't. You know me. I like to just do 2, try to hit that, I don't call it easy because nothing is easy in life, but hit those 2 projections, take home a win, turn the page, move on to the next one. It's so nice because you can take the information that Brenton just gave you on a DFS show like this one and apply it to your Underdog Fantasy Pick'em card, but you don't have to mix and match and get everything to fit together like a puzzle. You can just pick 2 things that you like. Simple as that. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. It's your call. Use promo code OLDMAN or click on that link. That's the easy way to do it. Sign up today and have a little fun. Once again, I'm Dan Vespers for the Old Man Squad. Shout out once more to Brenton Eckersley, Terrain72. Like, rate, subscribe. You know the rule. If you get to this part of the video, you have to hit that subscribe button as we keep growing this site and this network. And we'll be back with you guys. Well, when the hell is this one airing? You know what? I think we'll be back with you for our trade deadline live show. It's 5.5 hours of trade deadline pandemonium. It's on the live section. Bookmark it right now. We're going to have a blast. I'll see you then.